Everybody, welcome to another episode of Simply Finance with Shane White. I am pumped today to have Jess Salazar from Saucy Lips on the podcast. Jess, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you for having me, Shane. Very excited. This is my first podcast experience, so
Oh, you didn't
definitely,
tell me that before we started recording. Nice. So this is your first one. Well, hopefully this is a good first experience with podcasting then.
Oh no, yeah. I've listened to a few. I found your podcast about a month ago, and I've listened to a few, and I'm a huge fan
Oh,
of
thanks.
of it.
Appreciate
So
that. Well,
yeah,
maybe we'll have to, someday you need to get a Saucy Lips podcast. That just has a good name to it.
thank you. I agree.
Can get a lot of people click on that, want to know what it is. For
Yeah.
everyone listening who, obviously people maybe won't know the brand, would you mind giving everyone just a little bit of a background into what Saucy Lips is?
Yes. So Saucy Lips is my family's company. We're a Mexican family owned company that specializes in condiments. So we do all sorts of different things. We have a line of sauces that are everything sauces. These are amazing marinades, cooking sauces. They're all very unique and different. These are not exactly like Mexican classics, but they're Mexican inspired, and they're all recipes that my mom has always been making. And then our we do have in that line, we have a line of hot sauces. So same bottle, but they're spicy. So we have non-spicy, spicy, and then we have these, which are our new sauces and
Ooh,
pouches coming out. And these are actually Mexican classics. So these are recipes that as well my mom had been making, but they're more not as like creative as these, but just classics that taste amazing, clean ingredients, authentic ingredients, and yeah, we have a
love
few
it.
flavors. This one is
Yeah,
my
if you're
current
watching,
favorite.
we're showing some of the. If you're listening, if you're listening,
Oh,
you bounce over to
you're right.
YouTube. You can see what he's
As a
showing. Looks
exactly,
great. I like the
I
new
forgot
packaging too. The
my first
pouches look awesome.
podcast experience. I forgot about the video
No,
versus
no, no, it's
audio,
all good. No, yeah, for
but
everyone listening, you can bounce over. We'll share links and stuff too, so people can definitely
amazing,
find it.
amazing. But yeah, so those are in pouches, and they're just tearaway pouches. You tear, pour, cook, and you can have yourself a classic Mexican meal. We have green enchilada, red enchilada. We have a taco sauce, and it's specifically pastor, which is my favorite, and I'm sure a lot of people love al pastor tacos. Ours are incredible. That sauce you literally can pour on chicken, any type of protein, and have yourself restaurant quality tacos.
Awesome. That's sweet. I was excited to have you on here. I legitimately love Mexican food. It's like probably my favorite. Like good burger. Being in Chicago, we have good pizza, but like if you can find good Mexican food, it's just like my favorite. So I'm excited to hear
Definitely.
more about this. So would you mind giving everyone too, like that's what the product is, that's what you guys sell.
Yes.
Where did all this come from? I know you gave me a little bit of an intro before we started recording, but for everyone listening, where did kind of the inspiration for the brand even come from?
So the brand, so I'll go into the story of how it all happened. So we um, are from the Yucatan Peninsula, specifically city of Merida, and that's where my mom is from. That's where my sister and I were born. We grew up there, eating amazing meals made by my mother, who would use these sauces like the original core line. She would use these and create just crazy, healthy, and delicious meals for us. And then when we moved, my sister and I actually moved to the United States before my mother. She moved to Los Angeles and stayed with an aunt. And then I moved to San Antonio to stay with a host family that were family friends. And we finished high school in the US. Then both of us went to college. And then when we were in college, my mom finally like decided that she couldn't live away from us really like in a different country. So she eventually moved, and we were both I was a sophomore in college, my sister was a junior, so my mom moved to the US. um, Farmers markets, which is not something in Mexico, maybe nowadays they exist, but at the time they didn't really exist. When she moved to the US, she saw farmers markets as an opportunity to be she has always been very entrepreneurial and wanted her own business, wanted to create things, which in Mexico is harder than the US, because in the US, as you all know, is a land of opportunity. So she saw the farmers markets, started selling these sauces that she was making at home, and people freaked out because at the time too, this was in 2011 slash 2012. So end of 2011, she started selling them at farmers markets, and people were going wild because even though we didn't set out to create a brand that was like keto, vegan, and all of these things, they naturally were just because the ingredients were so clean. So yeah, she started the farmers markets. The reaction was incredible. She would tell me, I was in college. She wasn't living with me, but she was living in the U.S. She actually moved to Arizona, so she didn't move to L.A. or San Antonio.
Oh,
She
that's
kind of moved
funny.
somewhere that was like
In
in
the
the
middle.
yeah, and then because she had another opportunity there to move there, so she moved there, and then yeah, she would tell me about these farmers markets, and I would be like, oh yeah, that's really cool. Um, but it wasn't until a Christmas break that I went home and I went to a farmers market with her, and I saw people's reaction. Literally, people would try it, freak out, and yeah, and I was like, wow, this could be something really big. You know, that this is something that no one is doing out there. And yeah, I fell in love with the business right then, and I knew that if we pushed it, it could be something. So I took a year off. I went back to school, and then after that semester, I took a whole year off from college to help my mom start the whole business, and that's how it all started. Went back on my drive. The way the name. So originally the name was not really a name, but it was handcrafted vinaigrette, which that was like what my mom like had called it on the labels, all of that.
Yeah.
When I decided to take a year off and drive from Houston to Arizona, on that drive was when at the time my car, um, I didn't have a smartphone and my car didn't have like satellite radio or anything. So
Oh, wow.
I was basically driving without anything because the music doesn't like the radio stations don't work in a lot of the what's the word, path, I guess,
Sure. Yeah,
from
yeah,
Houston to
yeah. Yeah,
Arizona.
just the
So I
route.
was
Yeah.
literally in silence, just like thinking, and I was like, I want to come up with a name that's amazing, you know. Not necessarily, I know that a lot of like Hispanic or Mexican owned brands have very like Mexican names or very classic names, but I just wanted a very cool name that kind of was modern and also like made people remember the name and also wonder what it was. As you said with the podcast, like, oh, you can have a Saucy Lips podcast. Like, I feel like the name has helped so much just because everyone sees it, remembers it, and wants to also know what it is, you know. So
Definitely.
yeah,
Wow,
so
I'm
I
stuck
start.
on your drive without a smartphone, or do you have
Oh yeah,
GPS at least? Did you have
it was
GPS where
nuts.
you like just had to like memorize your path? How'd you get there?
So I don't remember now. I think I had like maps.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's hilarious. I mean, it's funny to think
yeah,
back, like, our parents used to all do that, but nowadays, like,
yeah.
if you say that to somebody, they're like, "What? What do you mean? You don't have it on your phone?"
Yeah, yeah. I was
Wow.
definitely the last one of all of my friends to get a smartphone. Even yeah, my girlfriend at the time couldn't believe that I didn't have a smartphone, but I just had a little flip phone, you know.
Well, it's funny to think too, right? Like, I was listening to a podcast the other day where they were talking about just like we're never bored anymore. Like, I I'm
Yeah.
I'm the same way. Like, I have AirPods. I feel like if I don't have Spotify on either music or a podcast, I was telling my wife the other day, I'm like, I feel like I'm listening to something all day. Like in the
Oh,
morning when
definitely.
I work out, while I'm working, it's like it's almost like kind of weird. Like you might not have come up with
Hmm.
the idea if you didn't just have some silence to sit in the car and like think. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? We don't stop and
Yeah.
just think
Exactly.
anymore.
Yeah,
Very
it's
cool.
pretty funny. Now I'm definitely addicted as well.
Yeah.
I Reddit, LinkedIn is a recent thing that I got into, and yeah,
It's
it's
great if
pretty
you
fun.
own a business or want to just get
Oh
involved
yeah.
in spaces. I feel like LinkedIn, I was telling someone this the other day, LinkedIn for the CPG space, I think is just like a hotbed right now. Like everyone is on there, everyone's
Oh
posting. It's
yeah.
like allows you to meet people, interact with people. It's a great place to be. That's really
Yeah.
interesting though. So I mean, this it's been a theme of people I've talked to lately, which is really interesting. Is like, you know, it was a family recipe. You guys get like initial feedback at something like a farmer's market.
Yeah.
I think the next question people listening what comes to mind, what comes to my mind is like, okay, your family has something really special. To take it to what it is today, that's a big leap, right? And I think a lot of
Oh
people
yeah,
get stuck right there. It's like, how do you go from that to actually selling something? So
definitely.
what were some of those like early conversations like with your mom who, she kind of created some of this. She was the one kind of hustling at the farmers markets and you were helping out. What was her thoughts right away when you mentioned like, hey, we should turn this into a brand?
Yeah. So the funny thing is that her thoughts right away, like even when she started doing the market before I joined, so my mom is one of those people that when she believes something, she like really believes it. So she would tell me, before anything, she would be like, "This is gonna be a $100 million brand," and I would laugh and be
Wow,
like,
love it.
"Oh yeah." She was like, "These are good," She was so passionate, and she was like, the based on the reaction and everything. Obviously, she didn't know like the path or how it was gonna get there, but she just really believed it. We're not there, obviously, but like she was like, "This is gonna be like in everywhere. This is gonna be a brand that's gonna be everywhere." So, um, it was cool to see that, and that also helped because like at first I was like, oh yeah, that's funny, haha, farmers markets. And then when I saw people's reactions, then I started believing it too. I also at the time had no idea how it was going to happen. When I joined, I studied mechanical engineering, which has
I was gonna
nothing to
ask, yeah,
do.
would you study
Yeah,
something in food or business or what'd you do?
no, no. I studied mechanical engineering, so I had no idea of business either. I just with mechanical engineering, one of the cool things is that it really teaches you to like be organized, all of those things, be creative. So I definitely brought that. But one of the I feel like our story is a little different than a lot of other ones because we didn't immediately I didn't know how to really like raise funds or do any of that. So what we decided was just to really go deep into farmers markets, and we started doing at one point we were doing 30 farmers markets a week. So we were doing so
Whoa.
many. We were doing farmers markets in Arizona. We were doing farmers markets in LA. We were doing farmers markets in Florida. Eventually, like once
How
I
did you do all that? Like, did you hire some people right away?
Yeah, so basically, my sister joined the brand too. So she was the one that was doing farmers markets in LA, and then she had a few friends help her there to do other markets. In Arizona, we got people to help us do farmers markets there with my parents, and then that was that. And then when I was in Arizona, I would help. So basically, my dad, my mom, and I would do markets all the time, and my sister would do markets all the time, and we would have some days we would have like 3 markets at once. Some days we have 4 or 5 markets at once. So it's pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean that's
We
crazy.
we went deep in farmers markets. We were at the time kind of we didn't know about brokers and distributors and any of that. So we kind of went into retail, but with independents there in Arizona. And we realized like in order to really make a lot and also compare it to markets, because in markets you can go and sell a lot in 2 hours, 3 hours. You have to be in hundreds of stores, thousands of stores. So we were like, okay, I think for now we should just focus farmers markets and in-person events and try to do as much of that, and eventually we'll figure out the next part. So that
Sure.
was kind of what we did, and we
Did-
literally for years just did farmers markets. We eventually got invited. Have you heard of the Disney Food and Wine festivals?
yeah.
They're like,
Oh yeah. I've never been, but
so
I know about them. Yeah.
that was our first like big break. Was that we did this farmers market in LA where someone stopped by at the farmers market that had a contact in Disney or something, and they were going to start the California Disney Food and Wine festivals again, and they were looking for vendors, and they invited us. And at first,
Wow.
we even thought it was a scam, like it wasn't a real thing. We are like,
Sure.
"Man, like, of course, we're not invited to the Disney Food and Wine Festival. It's inside of Disney, and it's a massive thing." But it was real. It was
Wow.
real. We did it. It was ridiculous because we not only were we doing an incredible amount of markets at the same time as Disney, but we are also making all the product ourselves in a commercial kitchen. So
Well, that's what I was
it
going to
was
ask next. Next is
it
like
was
going
it
from
was
usually
crazy.
farmers markets. You're probably, that's what I figured. You're probably gonna like a commercial kitchen at some point, right? Is that
Yeah,
what so you guys were hand making all of this stuff?
all of this stuff, it was crazy. It was crazy. What we did is my dad and I went to Anaheim and we're there for 30 days. It was a 30-day event. So every day from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. And actually 10 a.m. is when it started, but we were there at 8 a.m. So every day from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Oh my
we were
God.
inside of Disney selling sauce like crazy because we were sampling sauces, selling sauce. It was ridiculous. It was, yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that was crazy,
It
and I
was
bet
insane. It was
you probably
insane.
also made a lot of money. I would assume.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah, it was amazing. So we did that, and then my dad and I were there. My sister traveled. She was in LA, but she went to Arizona and she was there for the 30 days helping my mom make the product. So basically, my sister and my mom were working probably even more than from 8 to 10, like nonstop at the commercial kitchen, making product. And every Thursday they would send us pallets of sauce that we would then go pick up,
Whoa.
and it was ridiculous. For
How
yeah,
many? How many like containers, like the ones you just showed us? How many of those like a week were you? Do you think you were going through at Disney?
so we were going through. Let me think real quick. Probably maybe like 2,000, something around that. It was a lot. So it was definitely a lot of sauce being
Wow.
being
Yeah.
sampled. And the cool thing was also the sampling because we were sampling to thousands of people, you know,
Yeah. I mean, just the
and we're
brand recognition from that, I'm sure
yeah,
was
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah. It was
And
crazy,
at that
and it
point,
was
so like, I mean, that's a huge opportunity because you go from like farmers market to something like that. Did you guys do like a website and have like social media, all that like prepped for that?
yeah.
Okay. All right. Nice.
So for the first one, I'm trying to think. I don't think for the first one as well as for the future ones because we were invited back after that first year. We were invited back 4 more times, so we did 4 more
Oh, and I
events.
guess I
So,
didn't realize you guys been doing this that long. So when did you
oh
guys start
yeah.
this? What year did you start? You guys start the business?
So the business 2012 or 2011/2012 was when, or actually, yeah, 2011, 2012 was my mom started it. Then, like late 2012 was when the markets like really picked up, and then 2013 till we still to this day do markets. I still, even though we're in retail, and everything, I still really believe in farmers markets because there's
Sure.
nothing
Yeah.
better to have people try your products, spread the word. We still do right now. We do like 5 to 6 markets a week just to like get out there,
Wow.
talk to people, sample, do market research. Something important too with farmers markets is that you can really do market research not only for free but actually make money from it. So yeah,
Yeah.
we
No, definitely. Wow.
strong believers in farmers markets.
So pretty early on though, I mean, you guys were getting traction. I mean, you guys are, getting invited to things like this.
Yeah, yeah,
One of the things I wanted to back up and ask is how do you guys like have a really good recipe? And when your mom first went to the farmers markets, I'm assuming she was probably like at your house, her house making it, right? She wasn't even in a
yeah.
commercial
The
kitchen
first
then,
few,
right?
yeah, for sure.
How did you, being a mechanical engineering background, your mom being this great cook, how did you guys figure out things like, and I started asking this recently, I think it's a really interesting part of the
Yeah, yeah,
story
yeah.
is like, how did you guys go about finding like packaging and like someone to make a label and like a logo?
Yeah.
Like, how did you guys go about doing all that early on?
So early on, I just used Google and YouTube to figure out most things. I Nowadays I do a lot of the design for Saucy Lips, and then back then I was learning how to. So if you go back, I'll need to find some pictures of like the old logos and everything, but those I did. So I can send it to you. They're not
Very
very
cool.
nice
No, I mean, that's
compared to
cool
this,
though. Yeah.
but yeah. So basically, like packaging, all of that I figured out online. I figured out how to create like the nutritional labels, how to make sure the product was shelf stable. All of that was just Google and YouTube. So
Wow.
for anyone out there, yeah, YouTube teaches you everything.
It's true, right? I
It's
mean,
ridiculous. Yeah,
that's
yeah,
crazy, right? That you were able to find all that, and then from there you learned how, and then did you just start reaching out? Same thing with Google, like trying to source and reach out to
yeah, yeah.
bottlers and label makers and all kinds of stuff.
So we actually at first, which eventually I realized it was a mistake. But even our labels, instead of like having someone print them for us, I bought a little machine Like I think it was like a $200 like little machine, and it was a label printer, and I would print the
Wow.
labels myself.
Slap 'em on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we did that, and then we did that even when we were doing the first Disney event. We were still using that label and one label maker. And
Wow.
one of the things that delayed a lot of the production was that the label maker was very slow. So we so basically my mom had to wait there. Like by the time, like once we were doing the event and we are having like crazy amount of sales, it would take all day to print the amount of labels. So the label machine was just nonstop working. And then once they were
Whoa.
done, then they were like put them on. Yeah,
Wow. That's
it
crazy.
was
So it's just a
crazy.
hustle, just
A
hustling at
lot
that
of
point.
Definitely there was a lot of things that we could have done smarter at the time, but we were so busy that we're just like running around and going crazy that we were like, okay, it's working. Let's just keep doing it this way. Eventually, obviously, we figured out, oh, it's actually better time wise and cheaper to just print them with a printer. Um, with the bottles, we like right now, there's a lot of resources or companies that sell bottles online. So I know right now there's a shortage and all that, but back then it was pretty easy to just find good bottles online.
Got it. Wow, that's so cool. So you guys are doing this, you're hustling, you're going to the farmers markets, you get invited to Disney. Did going to Disney, was that, you said it was a big break. Was that like a
Hmm.
springboard into like a retail opportunity, or like what came out of it besides, sampling and getting it to a ton of people? Like, were you selling it on
Yeah,
your website too? So I'm assuming you probably got people to drive back to your
yeah,
site and everything.
yeah. So Disney was a springboard to, first of all, it made me really um believe in the brand. I already believed in the brand, but I still was like, oh, I probably like I went back to college after the first year. So I was like, oh, I
Oh, okay.
probably like after college, like I should do this part time. I should like get a job in mechanical engineering and do this part time, whatever, while it grows and we figure out the next step. But after Disney, and seeing that in a month we could like sell incredible amounts of sauce, and the reaction from people again, but in a bigger setting. So it's not a farmers market, because a lot of the people going there didn't even know that we were a farmers market brand. They assumed that we were a big brand because we're inside of Disney.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Like
So
the fake it
some
till you
people
make
would
it type
even,
of thing.
yeah, exactly. Some people would ask to take pictures with me, being like, "Oh, it's the owner. He's actually here." I'm like, oh, "Here every
That's
day."
so cool. That's funny,
Yeah,
right?
but yeah, it was hilarious. But yeah, so I that made me be like, okay, I need to just go in full, like just sauce and see how far this can get. So that was one of the things that came out of it, was just we all, like my sister, me, all of us were like, okay, this is something incredible. Like, and now it has been validated by a huge company like Disney. So
Yeah.
so yeah, that was that. We did get opportunities with a lot of independent stores. We did get with one big retailer, we got an opportunity there, but then it ended up not working at the time. Um, but yeah, so it wasn't really like a big break in terms of retail, but it was a big break in terms of other shows, getting invited back to Disney, because we then went to, this was in the spring, and then they invited us back to their Christmas show, the next spring show. So we essentially started going.
Wow.
Yeah,
You were kind of
yeah,
on like a rotation with them
yeah,
for
yeah.
every
So
show. So then, and then at this point, I'm assuming, like you said, you have your own website, so you're selling sauce on your website. Were you on like Amazon yet, for example, other e-commerce plays?
yeah, we were on Amazon. We were on our website. We actually Amazon, since it was hard to like at the time to figure out like inventory levels and stuff, and Disney was so strong, we stopped selling on Amazon. Which, thinking back, obviously a lot of lost sales there, but we focused on our website and the event, which were things that we could like ourselves just like, ship or sell.
Sure. Right. Yeah, it makes
Um,
sense. Yeah, especially when you
that
have
was the
short
first year.
inventory.
In the years after, yeah, we had Amazon going, our website going, um, other markets in Arizona and other places going. So
Got
yeah,
it. Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
was pretty wild.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, it seems like you're just a family of hustlers. You guys just are like working your
Yeah.
asses off trying to like get more sauce out there. And then so you're doing all this. I can only imagine like this is taking up a ton of time. So how do you guys like take a step back and from like a business perspective, think about like what the future looks like. Like, is that kind of what your role was at that point? Was okay, we're getting a lot of traction here, we're seeing a lot of growth. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
When it comes to like innovation or
exactly.
like getting new doors, or like, were you kind of the person that kind of led a lot of just like the
Yeah.
ideology behind trying to be
Yeah, yeah,
creative
yeah,
and
yeah. Because
strategic?
since I was still like I was participating in Disney and in the big events, but then I would still go back to college, and then I wasn't doing markets at the time in Houston because the my engineering degree was wild too.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
went to Purdue.
basically
I went
yeah.
to Purdue, so I had a lot of friends who were
Oh, nice,
engineers,
nice.
and I was their workload was crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So I definitely from there not having to hustle as much as my parents with the markets. I kind of had like the vision of what it eventually would be. I started reaching out to like retail and everything, which I know at the time I didn't know that brokers are so important, so we didn't have a broker or anything. So we weren't as successful with retail, but I did start like the process of learning about all of that. The picture of the overall business, like created the website, all of that led the online sales. So yeah, yeah, that was me when I was in college, and then
Okay.
when I graduated, I met my wife in she was my neighbor at Rice.
Oh,
It was
nice.
my
There you go.
my neighbor. We were best friends, and then we started dating. And then after college, she was accepted to for medical school, and I was like, okay, I can. Thankfully, because of the markets and because the business, because I wasn't getting a job out of college, like a full time job other than the sauce, and I was going straight into the sauce. I was like, okay, I can move to Miami with you, keep doing what I'm doing for the business, and now start doing farmers markets in
Oh,
Miami.
nice. Yeah.
So
New
that's what I
market for
did.
you guys.
Yeah, yeah. So moved to Miami, started doing farmers markets, kept doing like the big picture things with the business. And at one of these markets in Miami was where I met our current like angel investor that's helping us grow and everything, and basically funding the next step of the business. He helped us like move from a commercial kitchen to a co-packer
Oh, wow.
to so yeah, it was at a farmer's market. So farmers markets incredible for sampling and selling, but also you never know who you're gonna meet.
Yeah, right. And so this is what's interesting too. So like obviously the name of the podcast, a little bit of a finance focus. So you guys, yeah, I'm assuming when you're like running the family business out of a commercial kitchen, you're doing farmers markets. I'm assuming you're trying to sell each of these as like a profitable
Oh
sauce
yeah,
jar, right? Like it's like trying to help fund itself.
exactly.
What has been your guys' philosophy and your philosophy on trying to bootstrap it versus, to your point, now having an angel involved? Was it just like in order to kind of get to the next inventory level, it's helpful to get money infused into the business, or like kind of what was your like strategic thoughts? Because from me hearing your story, it sounds like you guys were growing and you were profitable and you were just continuing to scale. So what was kind of your thought process as it came to like maybe taking on and raising capital?
Um, so the so in terms of farmers markets and events, those basically fund themselves. So markets are usually pretty profitable because depends on the market and the state. And there's some places that will charge you like 10% of sales. There's some that will charge a flat
Oh,
fee.
wow.
So it's always really profitable. So that we were able to grow, and that's why we kept growing in different states and doing all these events, because that can grow itself. And you can basically, if you wanted to, be in farmers markets all across the US, and you would have an incredible profitable business. Because from the first farmers market, you can be profitable. Like based on like your cost if you're making it yourself, and you can sell it at farmers markets. People are willing to pay more because it's handcrafted, like truly, like you know. So that my philosophy was that in order to grow to the next stage and go into retail, we definitely needed someone to help us with like a big. For that, you can't use the markets to fund something like that because it takes so much capital to really expand nationwide into retail.
Got it.
So
Yeah.
so yeah.
That makes sense. So it was really just to kind of it probably a little bit of both, a little bit of expertise, try to
Yeah,
help you guys, as well as just like you need the inventory. There's a lot of people listening. Like once you get into some big doors, as I've experienced, it's like you just get these enormous influxes and orders where,
yeah.
yeah, if you're not ready and prepared, you're not going to have the inventory to fill the
Oh,
first
for sure,
PO, which would
for
be a
sure.
disaster. So that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah,
What
yeah,
were
yeah.
some of your first like big retail wins? Like what were some of the first retail doors you guys were in?
So our first big retail win was actually Whole Foods. We went from no
Slam dunk.
retailers to Whole Foods nationwide, like from
Oh,
zero
did you
to
really?
that. Yeah,
Wow. That's
yeah, yeah.
impressive. Congratulations.
Thank you, thank
Do you
you.
have
Yeah,
national distribution of Whole Foods now? Because I saw you guys were in Whole Foods, but I didn't realize it was national distribution too.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So these, not this specific flavor, and I should have more, but I only have this one right now with me. But these sauces, like the glass bottles like this, those were the ones that went to Whole Foods nationwide.
Wow.
And that was our
Congratulations.
first like
What was that like getting like that acceptance? Like when you found out, was that
it it
crazy?
was crazy. It was crazy because we went into the meeting like I first in my head when we got the meeting, I was like, oh, it's to go into like nationwide because I was kind of ignorant, not in like a bad way, but just didn't know, you know.
Sure. Oh
Like
yeah.
I was so yeah, I was so and coming from the markets and like having those things, like you know, I was like, oh yeah, of course, we're like we got the meeting with Whole Foods, they're gonna love it, and we're gonna go into Whole Foods nationwide. You know, that's what I thought. But then as the day came closer, like met with our partner and everything, then I started realizing, like, okay, it's probably gonna be a regional thing. You know, maybe they'll accept us in one region, or maybe it'll be a few regions. But then we went into that meeting expecting that, like, okay, if she takes us nationwide, it will be ridiculous. You know, it will be amazing. But if but we're ready to not even get into any regions. Like it could have been a possibility, like, oh, right now the category is too competitive, you know, we don't have space. So going into the meeting, I went into it like that, like, oh, okay, maybe it's not gonna happen. So then when it did, because on that meeting we found out that they were interested in nationwide for them, was
Wow.
when, yeah, I was like, oh my God, that's
And so
crazy.
they were that excited over just the success you guys had seen across different
Yeah,
markets. I mean, that's kind of cool. Like I don't think I've heard a story like that where because normally Whole Foods, you know, they're looking at other retailers, they're looking at maybe, you know, Amazon. Obviously, they're owned by
yeah.
Amazon. But that's wild. So a majority of it was just from the market penetration you guys had at farmers markets across the
At
country.
farmers markets and Disney,
Wow.
and that's what the presentation was about. Was we're not in retailers, but look at what we've been able to do without being in retailers. You know, so
Yeah.
that definitely helped. I think that was what was like. Okay, yes, they don't have any numbers, any data on retail, but we think that they're going to do well because also the name, the packaging. We already were at this packaging, so yeah, it was a whole thing.
That's
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah. I mean,
and social media,
okay.
very important,
Yeah.
yeah, because we already had a huge social media following.
Yeah, what do
Um,
you guys have? I remember when I stumbled across you guys and I looked it up for the first time. I remember being like, whoa, you guys have a huge following on social media.
yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, huge. There's obviously brands with much larger, but 26,000, I believe now.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah, yeah, and that's my sister. So my
Okay.
sister does all of our social media.
You have
Um,
26,001 now. I just followed you.
Nice, nice, nice. Thank you, thank you. But yeah, yeah. Every like now my sister's the one doing all of that.
Got it.
She does a lot. If you follow us on which now you have, you can see her. She does a lot of cooking demonstrations, a lot of funny videos and things. So yeah.
Very cool. That's awesome. So are you guys at this point, you know, I mean, getting national Whole Foods distribution is already an enormous accomplishment. Do you at this point foresee this as being, you know, I feel like there's two avenues a lot of brands can go down. One is like distribution, just grow, maybe raise some money and eventually sell it someday. And the other route is like, let's build a really profitable, like really like family business that can, you know, last for a long, long time. Do you first like, you know, you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but do you kind of see you guys going down one of those two paths at this point?
I guess right now we're focused on like right now just um growing it and seeing what happens. Like as you know, with like the markets and all of that from the beginning and going from markets to retail, we didn't exactly know how it was gonna happen or what was gonna happen, but we kind of are very like what's the word of like nimble,
Yeah.
we like whatever.
Nimble, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we are now just growing and seeing what happens, and we want to sell as much sauce and share as much sauce as possible with people and give them authentic Mexican sauces. We do have plans to grow in other categories and create other really cool products. So yeah, we want to innovate in the Mexican food space, and kind of not completely create new products that no one has seen, because I think that it's important to stick to the roots, but basically just innovate by changing them a little bit and making them super clean while still being delicious, and in making a brand that everyone, even if people are not looking for specifically Mexican food, it's an overall brand for everything. You can use it for salads, you can use it just in your everyday life, which is kind of how people use these in Mexico. It's not that, oh, we only make chilaquiles with the red, like with the green enchilada sauce. You can use that on everything. You can basically add hot sauce to a salad. So we
Sure. Oh
just want
yeah.
to, yeah, we just want to create condiments for everyone, for everything, with just classic and clean ingredients.
Love it. And what do you foresee as like another avenue of innovation? And again, don't have to share anything if it's private, but what other things come to mind as like areas of opportunity?
So I don't want to say exactly what we're working on, but I'll say that we right now we're innovating something that's extremely common, and just innovating the packaging and making it
Love it.
some like kind of, yeah, yeah,
I guess to
innovating it and keeping it clean, but yeah, yeah, we
got it.
like
That makes sense.
that's the next future after these two. We do have tortilla chips coming out.
Oh,
Those are not what I was discussing. Like, we do have tortilla chips coming out. They're not going to be grain free, because we believe that corn is clean. If you have a grain allergy, then there's brands already creating tortilla chips for those people. But we just want to create the best tasting tortilla chips and innovate with flavors there. So we are bringing flavors that are not normally used in tortilla chips and putting them on tortilla chips, and they
oh,
taste incredible.
I'm
We
excited
have
for
one,
that.
that one we're launching in early 2022, so around the corner.
Nice.
Um,
Is that
and
going to be in any major retailers that everyone will know?
yes, we're still in talks with some, but yes, it'll be nationally distributed. So yeah, yeah,
Fantastic. And I was going to
yeah,
say,
yeah,
we
yeah.
kind of skipped over it at the beginning, but would love. So, I mean, you guys, you're talking about sauces and you have the packets of sauces and then chips and more things. So you have lots of things coming out.
Yeah.
And people listening today, like who love the story and want to give this a try, what would you say is like, what's the difference between like some of the other sauces on the market?
Yeah,
Like, what is like the biggest differentiator that you would like besides,
for sure, for
the
sure.
call outs you have on the packaging, like keto and vegan and all those?
So for our hot sauces, which are the ghost pepper tamarind, jalapeno green apple, and habanero carrot, the biggest differentiator is that they're vinegar free. So they actually have first of all, they taste different than normal hot sauce. They're way more delicious. When people try them at farmers markets, which is my thing, they freak out. Like, sometimes we have people that are walking by, they're like, "Oh, my pantry's full of hot sauce."
Okay.
Like, "Oh, well, you should try it, and you might like it." They try it and they end up buying it because it's so different. They're way more versatile, way more flavorful. And since instead of using vinegar for the spicy ones, we use citric acid, which is essentially like lime. They are a little lemony, so they're so good.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
I'll send you some. You're gonna freak out,
Well,
and
thank
they're
you. I
not super
appreciate that.
spicy, which is another thing. Right now, a lot of hot sauce brands out there are creating extremely spicy things, and even our ghost pepper, we don't go for heat, so it's spicy, but it's flavorful. And even the habanero,
Ooh.
which is our hottest one, it's flavorful. It's not something that's just gonna burn your mouth. The heat doesn't linger. You kind of like get the heat, goes away, get the heat, goes away, because of the it has no vinegar, so it doesn't linger. So
Oh,
that's
love that.
that's
That's like
what's
my
super
least
unique.
favorite thing about hot stuff is just like when it lingers.
Yeah,
So I love that.
lingers and it builds. There's some hot sauces that you have and then it like gets worse, worse, worse. No, ours is, you enjoy your meal, you get the heat, but you also get the flavor, and they're clean. Like as you mentioned, then on top of all of this, they're keto, vegan, Whole30 approved. Um,
Whole
all
30
of
is big for a
this.
lot of people, especially this
Oh
time of
yeah,
year.
yeah.
People are starting to ramp up and get ready for,
Oh yeah.
January, which I feel like
So
is like the
all of our
biggest Whole
products
30
are
month.
Whole30 approved. Mhm.
Awesome. Oh, that's huge. That's great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's the spicy. So I'll go into the other ones too. Because I don't want people to think that we're a hot sauce brand. We're not a hot sauce brand. We are all sorts of condiments. So hot sauces, that's what makes them unique. Then these, which we have the tangy mango, the zesty cilantro, and the pineapple Thai. Those do have vinegar, but they don't have heat. So then you don't have the issue of the vinegar and all of that. And they have apple cider vinegar. So they're apple cider
Oh,
vinegar sauces that, for example, the mango, tangy mango, the percentage of mango in there is over 50%. So they're like heavy in the actual ingredients. And
wow.
we don't use juices, purees, or paste. So they're not sweet. They're savory sauces for salads, for cooking chicken, fish, any protein. And they are also Whole30, keto, vegan. For these, the hot sauces are oil free. These have olive oil, but it's minimal. That way they stay low calorie. Like this one, the mango, for example, only has 10 calories per tablespoon. So they're super low in calories, super flavorful, super versatile, and cool looking too.
Yeah, I was gonna say they definitely
Just
look cool
yeah,
looking. I'll give you that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's an added bonus. But
Yeah, absolutely. No, those are great. And then what is, yeah, I want to walk through
and
this
then
too. So
and then the latest ones that we have, the ones that are launching right now with Whole Foods, what makes those unique is that they are, first of all, clean, as with everything else, but also what we did to make those different from what's currently out there in that category, because you do have sauce pouches that are like Mexican flavors, is that we went back and actually used authentic ingredients and authentic flavor, because a lot of the ones that you have out there right now, like red enchilada sauces, green enchilada sauces, but more specifically like red sauces, I've noticed is that they're always sweet, which is not something that is very authentic or normal. So our red enchilada sauce, for example, not sweet. It's super delicious, complex, and different, and also not. I don't want to say that the other ones are more like Tex-Mex, but this is a sauce that even someone from Mexico that lives in Mexico and is visiting would buy. Like at the
they're like
show,
truly authentic.
yeah, truly authentic. Exactly.
Love
Exactly.
that.
So yeah, so they're truly authentic, truly delicious, super clean. Again, packaging is cool and fun.
Definitely
And and
pops
yeah,
pops on the shelf, right?
yeah, yeah. That's something that we always I feel like when we create new stuff, because my mom is still our head of R&D, she creates all the new products. We always first we grab and she creates like whatever, like some crazy sauce, like we're like either what she has been doing, or if it's something that we haven't done before, she just like goes and doesn't matter like the calories, all that, she just creates the best sauce she can. Then we go back and look at like what's like all the nutritionals, everything from that sauce, and how we can keep that incredible flavor but clean it up, or yeah, basically just do that so that it could be clean but also stay delicious. And that's the process. There is from first that, then we do that, the like cleaning it and making sure it's shelf stable and it can be recreated by a co-manufacturer. So that's another important thing. And from there, then we go and just create the coolest packaging we can. In a packaging that's not only going to be enticing for like people looking in the ethnic section, but anyone, even someone that doesn't really is looking for Mexican food, could pick it up just because it's so cool and
Sure.
catchy.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
No, definitely. Love it. I think what you guys are building is really cool, really unique.
Thank you,
I'm
thank you,
excited to try it. I'm very excited to try it.
thank you, thank you.
As we kind of get towards the end of the hour, I wanted to make sure every founder that comes on here, I ask a couple questions at the end that I just love to pick their brains on. The first one is, obviously running a business, you have a lot of moving pieces, things going everywhere all the time. What do
Mhm.
you use? And it's funny actually this question because you have your mechanical engineering background. I'm curious to hear what you say. What do you use to plan business goals, personal goals, and then what do you use to really like track and plan daily tasks? So really like what tools do you use around you just to get shit done? Whether that's pen and paper, an app? Like, what is your
Yeah.
go-to?
So I know a lot of people use very like complex apps and all of that, but for me, I use Google Docs, like Google Docs, because I love that I can share it with everyone on the team. Because now we have other people that are not my family that are on the team as well.
Okay.
So Google Docs that everyone can access, Excel sheets, but not Excel sheets, but Google Sheets. So basically, all of those the Google programs that I think is incredible. I always use those, and then in my personal days to make sure I never miss anything. You know on computers sticky notes, like how
Yeah.
you can on your I literally have sticky notes in the computer, like not like um physical
Physical ones.
ones, but on the computer, like the app sticky notes.
Yeah.
And I just put I have three sticky notes, and I have stuff that I have to do today, stuff that I have to do tomorrow, and then stuff that I have to do in the next like week or two. And then I just like keep track of everything that way. So I make sure like everything that's on the day, doesn't matter if it takes me all day, I have to complete everything that's for the day. And then I know what's coming the next day because of my second sticky note.
Oh,
And
wow.
then I'm
Just a
always thinking
simple
of the
three-step
future.
process.
Yeah, yeah. So nothing complex. Is literally sticky notes, and then Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides for if we're working on a presentation for someone. That way, everyone has access at all times. And yeah,
Can move faster. Yeah, I love that.
exactly.
I'm definitely like a simpler the better type of
Oh
person. I've
yeah,
tried
yeah,
apps, tried all that stuff. It's just the more complexity, the more time you spend in that. Like you always want to use something I feel like that gets you out of whatever like you need it to just get its job done and then get out and get on with your work, right? So
yeah, yeah.
love that. Love that. The second question is around sources of knowledge. So whether that's a book, a podcast, whatever it may be, what for the listeners would you suggest as a great source of knowledge that you like to recommend?
So source of knowledge lately, what I've been impressed, because I wasn't into LinkedIn until very recently, like in the last like 5 months. I had a LinkedIn, but I wasn't active on it. Um, LinkedIn, it's crazy, the amount of knowledge that's on LinkedIn. So I made sure to start following big people that are in the food industry, and everyone just is very open to share a lot of valuable information. And also, if you message, like when you message me, for example, like it's really crazy how even if it's a CEO of a huge company, if you message them on LinkedIn, it's very likely that they're going to respond. So if you need help, have questions, like if people are so open to actually helping. So LinkedIn, very valuable. YouTube as well. Yeah, there is. Now I'm blanking on his name, um, but there is or YouTube in general, because I literally just blanked on the name of someone that I've been following lately.
That's fine. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
gave a good example of what YouTube did for you, right? And again,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
LinkedIn is how we met. So those are
Oh, for
two
sure.
great examples.
In Googling anything, like if you have any question, you literally I type it on Google as if I was asking someone, and something's gonna pop in there. Like
Sure.
you're gonna
Yeah.
find
So
what you're
maybe
looking
even
for.
that's a great advice. Just going back to the basics, excuse me,
Yeah,
and Googling it. Yeah. I think sometimes we
yeah,
overlook some things. I think things are too complicated. It's like, well, just
yeah, yeah,
Google it, you usually find an answer.
yeah.
Um, awesome. Any other ones, or was that those are the two big ones?
Something else I think is important too is if you Google something and you can't find the answer, but you find something similar and there's a phone number, call that phone number, because
Oh,
it's crazy how like even though it might not be there, just by calling you might find the answer, because people, as again, like what I've learned is that everyone always wants to help.
yeah,
So
definitely.
especially if you're young and you call asking for advice, people love giving advice. So yeah, that's how I've gotten a lot of knowledge, is also just by calling, and saying who I am. I like it, like how I'm like young. That's I think that has helped me a lot, being young too. But I think it would be for anyone.
Sure.
Anyone, doesn't matter your age. If you call someone and you ask for advice, most people want to give advice.
Love it. That's great. Fantastic.
Mhm.
Last question and the most important question. How can people follow you? How can people follow Saucy Lips? And where's the best place to try?
Our social media handle on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, because we recently started a
Nice.
TikTok too, is Saucy Lips Foods. So Saucy Lips and then Foods plural, and that you can follow the brand. Personally, I have LinkedIn, so if you want to follow me on LinkedIn, I will accept most people. So definitely follow me on LinkedIn. Shoot me a message there. My sister too. She's very she loves LinkedIn as well now. So Natalia, my sister is Natalia Dalton. Um, and same Natalia Dalton Salazar. And yeah, follow her on LinkedIn as well. Follow us on social media because she does a lot of lives and everything there. And we do have a YouTube channel that we're not very active on, but if you want to follow us just in case we do become active on it, it's also Saucy Lips Foods on YouTube too.
Awesome. So you're consistent. Love that. Very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
And I'll add all those to the show notes so people can easily find
Amazing,
them and click
amazing.
on them and follow you guys. Well, Jess, thank you so much. This was so much fun. Great to learn about the brand. Excited to try it. And everyone's going to go buy it at Whole Foods now.
Thank you, thank you. Oh yeah, and yeah, you can find it at Whole Foods. We're actually launching the newest line right now, so in the next or two, you'll be able to find the pouches. Um, and then yeah, our website saucylipsfoods.com.
Awesome. Love it.
And thank you so much, Shane. This was
Yeah.
very fun.
This is fun. We'll have to
Uh,
do it again. Next time you get a big retailer, maybe we'll just keep following the good launches here.
for sure, for sure. Thank you,
Awesome.
thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jess.